Greetings and welcome to Geeks First. Today, it's all about Star Wars Unlimited because, well, we definitely need to talk about this, all that and more, right now. What's that you say? Star Wars Unlimited? What is it? Well, we're about to find out. And, yeah, I know. You're probably thinking, boy, why are you covering this? Well, it's a myriad of reasons, and let's dive right into it. There'll be a longer video on this topic later, but really, right now, it's so very hard to keep up with every single game that's out. And while I do want to talk about a lot of them that are in the market, there are going to be a few that I'm going to turn my attention and focus on. Such as Flesh and Blood, which is basically my primary card game at this point. But one can't deny the power that is the Star Wars IP, and on top of that, there's odd similarities, like these paper packs and other things that harken back to days of old, where me and my younger self went into card stores and got to play the version from Decipher back in 1995 through probably 2001, I believe, is when the game was canceled. Now, while this game does have some issues that the general community is concerned about, namely because it's an FFG game, and FFG has had a marred track record with games like Destiny, who kind of fell off the face of the earth, and several other various things that kind of over time have come to be synonymous with the Fantasy Flight name, such as having to buy one pack to get a promo or a card for another faction, like in Star Wars X-Wing. I think that that's been resolved, but it's been a long time since I've been in those. So they do have an uphill battle to fight, but, you know, the IP that is Star Wars, that's a strong one. Now, also, we have Lorcana. You know, it's the wife's birthday today, and, you know, it's intriguing because this set came out today, and when I look at Lorcana, the game is interesting. And again, I'll have a different video where I cover a myriad of games and the, I would say, pros and cons, that's probably a bad way to word it, but the ups and downs of each game, the intricacies, and some of the reasons why you might want to play one game over the other. I, for example, really do enjoy, I didn't even grab the third pack art, which is probably the coolest in Lorcana, which, you know, it's just part of the Aladdin series. And as a child, that, you know, relates to me. And I have, even if I'm not that interested in the game, some part of me that wants to collect those cards. Now, when we think about games like Pokemon, you have these interesting displays that have beautiful promo cards, front and center, oversized cards, and the possibility of hitting shiny or chase cards. Now, games, again, that I very much enjoy, like Flesh and Blood, have a lot of these popular concepts, cold foils, chase variants, but there are some pieces that have been not there, such as this beautiful two-player starter. Now, Flesh and Blood did something similar in the Tolarian Community College LSS 4-player UPF kit, but something about the price point and the difference in one-on-one versus multiplayer does take into some consideration. Now, every game obviously has different mechanics at its core, and Flesh and Blood being a one-on-one, mano-a-mano, start at your strongest, go to the weakest, has some different aspects than, say, games like Lorcana, where you're racing from the beginning to the end. Now, I got to play the Star Wars pre-release, and I went in blind. I did that on purpose. And I will say that it probably brought me some of the most joy I've had in a long time. And I was very excited to hear my LGS was carrying it. Not all my LGSs around town are. It actually sounds like there is going to be only a couple that are specializing in carrying it, maybe. But, you know, again, looking at the quantity of games that are out there, even this year alone, like Sorcery or the Kickstarter Altered TCG that just wrapped up, Grand Archive. I mean, there's just Sorcery is another one. I'm staring at Digimon, One Piece, Dragon Ball Super. There's just a myriad of titles. Now, all of these games, again, I'm going to chat a little bit about each one because I think they all have unique pros and cons. But today, we're going to bask in Star Wars Unlimited. And we're going to look at some items that I really hope to see in some of the other games that I definitely enjoy, such as Flesh and Blood, like this two-player starter. Now, Gamma, which has just wrapped up as of, I believe, this day, or I believe it's this weekend, is a great convention to attend if you're a game store owner or somebody who is a manufacturer in gaming accessories, which is where you're going to find a lot of related content. And I have a separate video talking specifically about that. But needless to say, most vendors, Asmodee, Fantasy Flight, Wizards of the Coast, Legend Story Studios, are at these venues. And that is so that they can get in front of these game stores and promote their product, talk about how it'll build X in whatever they're looking for, whether that's community, drive profit, something. They can have a lot of different conversations that they can have with the people selling the product to the end consumer compared to trying to grow the game by selling to the end consumer. So let's go ahead, and after I've probably lost your interest with all that talking, we're going to go ahead and jump into opening, in this video, just the two-player starter. Because I want to see the quality of the two-player starter compared to things that I'm used to today, which would be a Flesh and Blood Blitz deck, or days of old where I would buy a Magic the Gathering Commander deck, because that was another game, or we'll even compare it a little bit toward the Lorcana starter decks, which do have some tokens and some other items. But then after that, we're going to have a separate video that'll follow up and talk about these pre-release kits and how my thoughts on these were. My first pre-release kit, I got a video of that, was a real humdinger. And needless to say, that was an experience in and of itself. But without further ado, let's switch to the top-down camera, and we're going to go ahead and jump right in. Now, full disclosure, I actually transferred some assets into this game, meaning that I ended up transferring some sealed boxes of Magic the Gathering and some other Pokemon products, so I'm only about $50 into this game for the two-player starter, the pre-release kit, and the box. That way, I have a lower cost of entry to see if I enjoy the game long-term to be able to play it, but obviously I'm not going to spend as much money on it. And with the economy getting tighter and many games coming out, there's going to need to be a rein-in on spend with a lot of people. So, looking at kind of the overarching symbology that kind of combines both what I enjoy and, well, being within a budget and mindful, let's go ahead and take a look at this two-player starter deck and start to understand what the value you get out of it is, so that we can basically see if we can play a game with just this. So as part of the pre-release event that I went to, where I got my pre-release package, the games that I won, you got 1 pack per win. I won 2 of the games. So we're going to go ahead and open these at the end, just because they're random packs, and it'd be really fun. Now what we are on top of here is we're on top of a playmat. And this is the XL playmat. It was $35, and it is basically 2 playmats where you have both your space, ground units, initiative counter, resources, deck, and discard pile, which is essentially everything you would need on the one side. But I want to see if this, similar to the 2-player Dory vs. Rhinar deck that Flesh and Blood released later, or I should say earlier last year, if it contains a paper playmat, or if there's anything of the sort, or if they just expect you to buy a playmat. There's a lot of products, a lot of card sleeves. Gamegenic is with this as well, so there are deck boxes. There is a ton of ancillary products that you can get right out of the gate, starting, you know, hot and heavy, coming in, picking your Imperial or light side stuff. So this is raw, unedited, start to look. Now, I have been told briefly by the LGS owner that there are indeed cards in this that are unique to the starter deck, meaning they're not found anywhere else. And it does look like inside of here you get 110 cards, 40 counters, 1 quick start rule, 2 playmat posters, and 2 folded deck boxes. So let's go ahead and take a gander at this. We're going to dump all the contents out here. And there you go. So on the inside you can see that there was some dividing on the inside. But overall, there's not a lot of wasted, you know, material or things that'll probably need to be thrown away other than the box. But I'm going to keep this box so I can keep it. But this is a Fantasy Flight Spark of the Rebellion 2-player starter. And on the bottom of it here, you see Lucas Fantasy Flight. Now, it's funny because it says 1995. West County. I thought this was copyright 1995, which is not the case. But on one side you have Vader, which is right here. And on the other side you got Luke, so that's the 2 in this. Gives you the deck list on the cards, so that's extremely nice of them. It does talk about the specific size of sleeves that's required for this. So this is the GameGenic size 3 sleeves. Gives you an estimation of 20 minutes of play, 2 players, a head-to-head combat. So again, I like that they have that amount of detail and information on the box. That's important as a new player. This is a token card, so this is the damage counter, similar to like Pokemon, where you use damage counters for your Pokemon. This is a damage counter set for the bases, which I'll talk about a little bit of the rules in a bit. But it looks like you get 2 of those and a Spark of the Rebellion quick start rules. Now, interestingly enough, I believe that you actually get these same contents in the pre-release pack. And I don't think you get this exact style of... Oh, look at that. They have artwork on the back of them. Heck yeah, look at that. That is pretty sweet. So these are Star Wars Unlimited. This is the deck boxes they talked about. They're the paper ones. And I'm gonna bend this together so you can hear it. There you go. Granted, you know, it is flimsy cardboard, but for the fact that this is included in the starter, this is excellent. This is enough for me to throw this in a bag and keep the cards in there. Obviously, there's no sleeves. I could have bought sleeves. That is definitely on the agenda. But they just pop together. You just push them like that. The little tabs go in. You'll notice that it's a little bit cattywampus at the top. So because of that, you'll need to straighten that out. Boop, boop. Flip those in like such. And there you go. Now we have our Vader and our Luke. I'm going to stick them down here to keep our corners occupied. So those are our deck lists or deck boxes. Inside, we must have the 2 of those. So, okay, we got the counters. We talked about that there is an inclusion of a quick start rule. There is a keyword and glossary on the back, which is nice. And inside of this, it talks about how to win the game, overviews of the game, card setup, as well as the definitions of what things are, initiative counters, leaders, epic actions, damage counters, the different gameplay phases, ready and exhausted heroes, as well as how to play the cards, different aspects of the cards. We'll talk about that later. The ground and space arenas. It covers the events, the upgrades, how to attack, different examples of attacking, how the leader ability functions and switching that over, as well as the regroup phase, and then some other items as far as the aspects and then the token cards for shields and experiences. Looks like there's different traits, so Rebel and Imperial, talking about the different items in there. Card abilities, triggered actions. If you're into a TCG, most of this stuff probably will make pretty good sense. Then it goes into the deck building about how to make, you know, 50 card decks and so on and so forth. But what's again nice about this is I seen it out of the corner of my eye. I hadn't talked about it, but I can already tell that these are branded paper playmats. So like they've already gone one step further than just a generic mat, because I can see this has a Vader and this has a Luke. So without going super crazy here, oh, it's a poster. Look at that. Okay. That's pretty sweet. So like, I know I'm not full, but that's a full size, that's a full ass poster. That's like a you can put it on your wall when you're done. And that's pretty interesting. Now, on the other side, it looks like not only, oh wow, this is nice. Look at this. Not only does it have where you can ground, base, and space, but it talks about setup, round structures, some references, triggered abilities. This is excellent. I mean, this is exactly what I want to see in a learn-to-play product or a starter box, so that I can pass this off to the wife, to a friend. I can get my buddy, and we can sit down. We can both, you know, read at our own leisure as we're playing. If I have a question on my turn, I can look at something. Obviously, this isn't comprehensive. It's not going to give you every edge case. But, yep, this is the dark side one. You can see it has that. So there you go. There's Vader. Now, the one thing that is interesting about this game that is kind of the second contention point that you'll hear most people talk about is the choice in the direction of art style. And while I, at first, was pretty, like, I don't know why they chose this art style, because the games that I am attracted to pretty much have an adult-themed style. Magic the Gathering was an example. Flesh and Blood has a pretty adult-themed style. Some cards, not all of them. It's not like all blood and violence, but like, you know, they don't have almost a comic-esque style to them. You know, and these are kind of an interesting hybrid. These remind me, and I don't read a lot of comic books or graphic novels, but this reminds me a lot of like a graphic novel adaptation of Star Wars. So there's differences in kind of the maybe art direction, and we'll see if they stick with this going forward or if this is something that's there. But the only two, I would say, drawbacks that I hear when people mention this game in passing of any kind is the fact that it's a Fantasy Flight game and they have a not so stellar track record with different games, and then with the fact that the art style is slightly different. So looking at this here, it looks like, you know, there's your Darth Vader hero. That's pretty sweet. I'm going to go ahead and punch into 7 here. I did some little bit of homework. I went into the pre-release blind, so I didn't really know how to play. But after playing, within the first 2 rounds, I would say I had a very good grasp of the game. So that's exciting to see that they made this intuitive. Now, in this deck, this is the Darth Vader side of the deck. We have the hero, Darth Vader, who has 2 different aspects. I'm sure there's actual terminologies for these if I read them in the book. I'm sure I should know this. But he has the red and the dark side one, and then this is green. So our deck is probably going to consist of those 3 aspects. So let's see. Do they actually give me the name here so I can not make everyone on the internet? So, okay, we have aggression, command, and villainy. So I'm going to leave this open on the side so that I can chat more about those. Now, what's nice about these, or how this works, is this says S for the word starter, it sounds like. So that must be an exclusive card in the starter. But every hero in this game that I've seen so far is going to have a name. If they have a diamond, that means that they're unique. You can only have one of them. Then you have the aspects. So Luke over here is vigilance and cunning, or I'm sorry, vigilance and heroism. And they have an epic action, which is once per game. There's basically a requirement. So Vader's is if you control 7 or more resources, and then this one is if you control 6 or more resources. At the start of the game, you're going to draw 6 cards, and then you're going to take those cards. And this is kind of why I think the system here is pretty ingenious. I'm just going to pick the last card of the deck here to talk about. So, unlike Flesh and Blood, and we're just going to go ahead and pop open a random pack in the middle here, because I had one laying around. Ooh, did I get a bobble? Maybe a bobble. Nope, it's a Phoenix. Okay, that's still good enough. We'll leave it all face down for now over here on the side. But in Flesh and Blood, you have a card can have a pitch value, meaning that's what it costs to play, how much it generates if it was an attack and a defense, and the data on the card. In Star Wars Unlimited, you have a cost to play with a aspect, and that aspect means that you can, unlike where Flesh and Blood, you have to match the hero to match the class. So like in this case, Draconic in like the Draconic Ninja, you can only play this in a Draconic deck. You could actually play any card in your deck based on my understanding, but you get penalized if you're let's say, a villainy and you're playing a heroism card, so you have to pay +2, or if you don't have these aspects, then you'd have to pay the +2. So if I didn't have both a green command and a villainy, then I would have to pay 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to play this because it costs more. So there's this interesting give and take that I can see some similarities, not in any particular form, but I can see that the way that they handle this means that you have different ways to approach, and you don't have to have everything is a resource. You don't have to deal with a separate resource deck, or in theory everything can be turned into one of your resources face down. So the next piece we're going to talk about here is your base. This is Death Star. In this case, this is your health. So in this case, you're really not facing let's say character versus character like a duel. You're actually going and basically trying to defeat someone's base. So in this scenario, you would have your base and your hero, and your other opponent would have their base, their hero, and they're going to go ahead and try and do damage to your base, reducing it to a 0. And that is a pretty unique way to approach it. So these are some of the tokens that are in here, and we'll see that you have the shield tokens, which is like an armor. So this is essentially, if you were to take damage, it gets rid of the shield instead of going to the character first. and the experience card, which is a way to basically give underneath the card to give +1/+1. It's an additive effect. That's kind of nice. So going further in the dark side deck, we have TIE Fighters. Now these are a unit that is in space, so it would be in the space side of the arena. And Vader obviously doesn't live in space, but he is a leader. And when he comes in, you'll see that he is a leader and a ground unit. So there's some technical terms on these. This is a 2 attack, 1 defense Imperial vehicle fighter. These keywords affect different things that can happen on your card. So this is a unit ground Death Star Trooper who is a 1 cost to play. So that's the cost to play up top. 3 attack, 1 defense, and you'll see the rarity at the bottom, and obviously these are all from the first sets that say SOR on the bottom. So it does appear that in the constructed rules, these must be, 3 ofs. If I look kind of at my little cheat sheet here. Speaking of, I was told, and I haven't flipped this over yet. Oh, there it is, yeah. So I was told that on the back of these, this is a special, so like in the typical sets, you would see this, where the command card is actually a double-sided token, but in this case this goes over the commons, the rares, like what they are and how many are in each one. So even if I were to mix these up or put them somewhere, I can rebuild this. So you get S's for probably starters only, C's for commons, U for uncommons, get a couple of rares in here, and that's it. And that's neat. So there's looks like a total of 1 Darth Vader S, Admiral Mahdi's in the starter, Grand Tarkin's in the starter, and Vader's lightsabers in starter, and I Am Your Father's in starter. What's nice about this is at least you're getting the 3 ofs for any of the starters, meaning that I don't need to really buy more than 1 starter in order to use those cards for a different constructed deck that I might want to play. So that's exciting. I like that. Awesome. Now there are different rarity tiers, and then on top of that, there's different art formats. So looking at this TIE Fighter, there's ones that are like borderless, and I think they're called hyperspace, and you can get foil hyperspace. So there's really like 4 versions of each card that I believe. So the set collecting for this, so the kind of the Pokemon aspect, the tax is there. It's real. It's cool. You got Admiral Ozzel here. You got First Legion Snow Trooper. Yep. Admiral Mati. Now, I did notice, I don't really see any flavor text on any of these cards, which, for me kind of sucks because I enjoyed, that was one of the coolest things that I remember from the Decipher days, is just the random bits of information that were thrown in the card. But I don't think I've seen any of these with flavor text. So there's Madi. You got the Snow Trooper Lieutenant here. This one has some abilities in it, so when played you can have an Imperial unit. That's a keyword, so an Imperial unit gets +2. These probe droids looking at your opponent's hand, those were kind of fun. Admiral Piet, Super Laser Technician, that's pretty sweet. Look at those. Cell Block Guard, Sentinel. Now Sentinel's kind of an interesting ability. If Sentinel is in that arena, you have to attack it before you can attack the base. It's kind of like a give and take in some regards, so you're actually forced to attack these. So Sentinel cards kind of protect you. There's Mr. Veers, gotta love him. Yeah, and he's a I say unique, but he's the star on his name. So you can only have 1 in the field at once. You got Grand Moff Tarkin here. When played, search top 5 cards of your deck for 2 Imperials, reveal them, and put them in your hand. So these are S cards, starter cards. We got three Tarkins. Imperial Interceptor is a space TIE Advanced. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, what's on the back of that? Ooh, there's some stuff on the back of that card. What is that? There's some goobly goop. TIE Advanced, ATST Gladiator Destroyer. I don't really know what that's from. I was trying to figure this out at the actual event, so I don't know if this is like from an animated series or like Clone Wars. This was a goofy looking Blizzard AT-AT, but it's a strong. It's very, look at that, 8 to bring out. Emperor Palpatine's in here. There you go, Mr. Rare Palp. Overwhelm. And then we got Relentless. Oh, that's a Star Destroyer as well. Ooh. Imperial Vehicle Capital Ship. The first event played by each opponent around loses all abilities. Yeesh, Jesus. Alright, here's Vader's lightsaber. This is apparently one of the starter exclusive cards. Attached to a non-vehicle when played, attached to Darth Vader, you may deal 4 damage to Granium. Okay? That's cool. Deal 4 damage. You got your recruitment posters, your force chokes. open fire, and then I am your father. This one is a starter card. It says deal 7 damage to an enemy unit unless the controller says no. If they do, draw 3 cards. That's hilariously cute. It's a gambit. It's a yin or yang. If and, you know, that's a pretty sweet set of cards. That's a pretty sweet set of cards. And looking at the back here, you see the Star Wars Unlimited back. Now these cards, the cardboard quality, talking about the quality, when you talk about quality of different games cardboard, when you put them side by side here, you can look at things like the corners or the core of the card. Now it's kind of really hard to see here, but in real life, the quality of these cards seem to be on par-ish with the Flesh and Blood cards until you start to go a little bit sideways, and you can see kind of the, I don't know if it's an inner core or a different type of card stock, but the corners are all cut about the same. So really there's not a huge difference in my head between, say, these Flesh and Blood card qualities. Now, I mean, these are more glossy, I think. Flesh and Blood has a little bit more gloss to them than, say, like in these in my hand here. They feel, you know, as I'm thumbing through them, they feel the same. I haven't shuffled these yet. I want to put them in sleeves before I do that, but yeah. So there's your Luke leader here, and then your administration tower. So let's see here, your starter cards in this one: Luke, C-3PO, Leia Organa, Luke's lightsaber. So you get 3 in this one. You got some tokens. We got B1 surgical droid. That's cool. Got a Bacta tank in there. R2D2, definitely having a blast. This is a starter card here. S. When played / on attack, look at the top card of your deck. So it's a helper. It's a low cost. It's 1s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I thought they went in order of like cost. I was like, that's cool. You got some X-Wings for your space. Here's your C-3PO. This is an exclusive in the starter. When played on attack, choose a number, then look at the top card of your deck. If it's the chosen number, you may reveal it and draw it, otherwise leave it on top. Rebel Pathfinder, that's pretty sweet. Restored Arc, okay. Leia Organa, 2/2/2. This seems like the grizzly bear of Magic, because it's a 2 cost, 2 power, 2 defense, but it's not a vanilla. It doesn't have a blank text box, so maybe that's not a fair comparison. Yeah, it's not a fair comparison. Rogue Operative, Fleet Lieutenants, a different X-Wing. This is X-Wing Leader. I like the artwork on that. Here's Mr. Yoda. He's an uncommon. That's so cool. But man, that art. What do you think about the art? That art doesn't do it for me. That art doesn't do it. Cloud City Wing Guard, definitely like Cloud City. System Patrol Craft. There we go. Got some Consular Security Force. Yeah, that's a hefty word. Add General Dodonna. Oh, you got a Snowspeeder up in this. Yeah, there you go. Get some Hoth deck. I'm going to build a Hoth deck. I'm definitely building a Hoth deck. Chewbacca, Vigilant Honor Guards. Oh, you got Obi-Wan Kenobi and Han Solo. Yeah, he's Underworld, whatever that means. He's an underdog. These must be your upgrades. Yeah, they say upgrades, so this is an upgrade. Here's Luke's lightsaber. Heal all damage and give him a shield token. So I saw somebody doing a video where they got Luke down to like 1 hit point, put this on it, healed him, they got him down again, then put another one on it. It sounds like that Luke's lightsaber is going to be kind of a fun one to handle. Shoot First, Asteroid Sanctuary, Surprise Strike, Waylaid, and Vanquish. So that would be the contents of this deck. Now, I am going to showcase these 2 packs to give you an idea of what's in it. If you don't want to watch my other video where I go over a Spark of the Rebellion pre-release kit and build a demo deck out of that, or the box opening. So this is going to kind of showcase here. This is Spark of the Rebellion Booster Pack SWH0101EN for English, I'm guessing. The back of it is each booster contains 16 cards, including approximately 1 car, 1 base token, 9 commons, 3 uncommons, 1 rare, 1 legend, 1 rare or legendary, and 1 premium foil, non-specific rarity. Nothing is guaranteed. because nothing's guaranteed in life. But it had the paper packs, and they feel just as good. And I really hope that the industry as a whole follows suit, because this would be 2 TCGs now that are doing this. One being Flesh and Blood. I believe they were considered the first doing it mainstream ever since, I believe it was either Everfest or one after that. But I know that Uprising has it. But this is much better for the entire world. Less plastic. I congratulate FFG for following, or Disney for allowing them to follow in that footsteps. This is fantastic. So I'm glad. Hopefully other games will follow suit. All right. So this is the leader in the pack, Hura Chandelua. I have not actually seen this character. It is a green Twilak. We got the administration tower, and on the other side here, it looks like this is that shield token I talked about. And now we're into the cards. So we got a medal ceremony. That's common. Seasoned shore trooper. Surgical droid. So these are all light side cards so far. Here's a Mandalorian vehicle. This is a space guy. Strike True. System Patrol Craft. We've seen that in the starter. Cell Block. We've seen that in the starter. ISB Agent. I got one of these in my my original pre-release event. It was a pretty fun card. Carillion Raider. Ooh, get the uncommon here. Reinforced Walker. This is definitely a big card to get out, but man, that sounds like a nightmare to get rid of. Let's see here. We got Star Wing Scout. That's an uncommon here. Next up, we have Colonel Yolanda. Now, this is what I was referring to with the border being different. This is, I believe, considered a hyperspace card. Now, this is not foil. This is just a regular run-of-the-mill card, but is a hyperspace card. And then we got a Boba Fett. Oh, this is a legendary. Look at that. Oh, sweet. Cool. We got a legendary. And then we got a foil Guardian of the Wills. The foils are pretty interesting, but they do have kind of a tendency in humidity to curl a little bit at the moment, I'm noticing. And then I've also seen on a majority of the ones I have, there are these interesting little small lines that go across them. I'm not trying to nitpick, but I just giving you the honest information in case you're trying to keep track of it. But we got a Boba Fett. Look at that. Underworld Bounty Hunter. Heck yeah. On attack, if this unit is attacking an exhausted unit and it didn't interplay this round, deal 3 damage to the defender. I hadn't seen this one. I don't even think it was in the pre-release that we were. I don't know what the odds of hitting a legendary are. You know, never tell me the odds, right? But yeah, that's pretty sweet. So that's awesome. That's fantastic. All right, and we got Sabine. This is another leader, and we got Catacombs of Cardia. Cardea. I haven't seen that one, but they're at least red. That's funny. They're the same. All right, we got Rugged Survivors here. They are surviving because they are rugged. Imperial Interceptor. I like that artwork. Resupply. This one is kind of fun, have to say. I like it. I do think it's interesting, the choice on like some of the placements of how they have art at the bottom, art at the top. I don't know if they all events are at the bottom and all units have a top and bottom. So there's some variety in that. That's kind of intriguing. I do like that aspect. We got a Walker. This is an Imperial Walker. Precision Fire. That's a sniper, baby. Get some sniping going on. Some Borderlands sniping. All right, we got Lothal Insurgent. Lothal Insurgent? Lothal. Each pack contains 9 cards, 3 uncommons, 1 rare, so blah, blah, blah. Okay. This is a common. It's a 3/2. This is a rebel. When I have not seen that. I didn't even see that card at all. All right, we got Confiscate. Defeat and Upgrade. This is a generic card, so I love generic cards. Generic cards, especially in the game Flesh and Blood, can be played with any class. So I think generic cards are awesome. So it's awesome to see that generic cards exist. We got Surprise Strike. Look at that. Tactic. Common. All right. We got Volunteer Soldier. Now look at this. This is that borderless treatment that we're talking about there. That's cool. Borderless. We got a Kerbast. Kerbast? The Spectre? Kerbaste. Okay. Ooh, Blaze Malibus. Rapid fire, maybe? Grit. This unit gets +1 for each damage on him. So really, if he goes down to 1, that's 4. He can be a 6. And he's a sentinel. So you're kind of... There's some cool... I mean, you're paying for it, but there's some cool stuff with that. Alright, we got a Vanguard Ace. This is, looks like a Rebel X-Wing. It says New Republic, though, so... Yeah, interesting, okay. U-Wing Reinforcement. And last but not least, ooh, an Escort Skiff. That's cool. A 4/4. Now, just looking back through here, you can clearly see the ones that have no border are pretty easy to identify. So, looking back at, like, there's that, no border, no border. These had a border, and that did not have a border. So, just scrolling through cards when you're looking at things, you know, there's a couple of really things that stand out, especially when you look at it from the back, right? You can say, here's your tokens and heroes. Those are easy enough to come by. So, I like it. I think that there's some unique stuff. Did we, on our location, yeah, they're both 30s. I have not seen a rare location just yet. I had somebody play one against me, but I don't know if there's any I don't know if there's any legendary locations or anything. Like, let's say, Death Star Shaft, or, you know, something that would be pretty, you know, epic or hardcore or something. So, man, that's just, it's exciting stuff to see a legendary in that. I know they're just random packs. These were technically my prize packs for my pre-release, so. All right. Thank you. All right. Well, that has been my, hopefully, useful introduction with the 2-player starter Spark of the Rebellion, Star Wars Unlimited, Luke Skywalker vs. Darth Vader. I see a lot of positives in this. Granted, you know, the mats are paper, the tokens are paper, the boxes are paper, but it's a starter product. And I think the MSRP, I don't even remember what I paid for this. I'd have to go, can I look real quick? Where's my receipts? Let's check the receipts, boys! And with the starter being around $35, I think that there is a decent bang for buck. You get 2 basically ready-to-play decks against each other, and if you treated it like a board game, this basically could be similar to a board game in a box. So I definitely give this, you know, a probably fairly high score. If on a 10-point scale, I'd say it's at least a 7 or an 8. The reason I don't give it anything higher is because, well, they do a lot of good branding, but I think that I need to wait a little bit longer for me to play it before I can maybe increase that score. But again, some of that is biased because it is Star Wars, and anything Star Wars is great. But do you like the artwork? Do you like Fantasy Flight? I personally don't have much of a problem with it. I mean, I'm hoping that because I've heard that they have mini sets already, you know, pre-developed, that they're going to develop more and the game will survive. But because it has Disney's name on it, you're guaranteed to have, well, at least some success, because now they got 2 products in an LGS. So will Disney take over your LGS? All right, well, hey, thanks for tuning in today. Very much appreciate it. Hit that like, share, subscribe, and hit that bell for more notifications. We're definitely going to dive in a little bit more to some Star Wars, or kind of flesh and blood, and probably a couple other games here and there, but definitely going to have a little bit of the how to play on Star Wars Unlimited, because it's Star Wars, and I love Star Wars. So, until next time, may your games be fun and your friendships grow. Cheers. Your captain. Your captain. 4-player starter. It's behind me if I can get it and edit myself in. Cut to here.